Hello snowboarders of the internet, I am your host TC and today I will be reviewing the Nidecker Gamma APX. This board is equipped with Nidecker's positive camber profile, so what that means is it is just a classic camber snowboard with a little 3D shaping right at the contact points on the nose and on the tail. So what that's going to do is that full camber is going to give you all of that power, drive, and pop that you're looking for. This board is offered in a 153, 157, and 159 wide. I've rode this board at Copper Mountain where the snow really couldn't make up its mind whether it wanted to fall or not. We got about 4 inches of snow the day before and about 1 inch pretty much the day of, and it was pretty chundery out there. It was firm conditions from start to finish. The sun tried to poke out, but it just couldn't. It was pretty much just a terrible flat light day for lighting it at least, but overall still a great day because you're snowboarding. But I did use my Ride Fuse boots and Jones Mercury bindings. This board, when we're talking overall flex, is coming in at stiffer than the middle of the road. That being said, it's not a total plank or anything like that. It's just gonna require a little bit more to load up. Now, when you're torsionally flexing this thing, it feels the same. You're gonna put in more work, but that being said, it is pretty stable. The nose and the tail do feel a little bit softer though, so it's not the most fluid flex out there. You definitely notice right underneath your feet that it is going to be stiffer than the nose and the tail, but this board really wants to flex pretty much right at that contact point where if you're leaning a little too far back, you feel it get a little loose. And pretty much when you are on that like chundery stuff or any sort of uneven conditions, it is a nice damp board. It's not gonna be the dampest thing out there, but it does cut down on all those micro vibrations pretty well. You will notice those bigger push piles, but it will go over it and keep its edge so you don't have to really worry about it feeling too loose or anything like that. This board loads up really well and provides a great snap to it. The main thing is that since the nose and the tail feel a little bit softer than the overall flex of this board, it allows you to actually load it up without it fighting you, where you can shift that weight back and have it spring you forward without it actually like launching you and throwing you like nose heavy or just completely bucking you off of your line, where it is a nice smooth pop, and it's a really nice smooth landing too, especially when you're going off of jumps. When you're on that medium line, if you over rotate or anything like that, you can set the edge down and keep your speed and keep going. Or if you just perfectly execute that spin, you can just land flat base and just mob through into the next jump. You can really take this thing off at any size jumps. It definitely excels on the large line, but it feels very at home on the medium line as well. Remember to like, subscribe, click that bell, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of the videos we have coming out. Butterability and jibbing. When you're buttering on this board, you'll notice that it has different degrees to a sweet spot on it, where right outside the binding is where it wants to hold that press, but you can keep leaning back and it's still gonna hold you even further back. So finding that sweet spot, it's really dealer's choice on it, where depending on how much you really want to steeze out that butter, you can lean back on it. Same with on the nose as well. And when you take this thing to the rails, it feels very similar, where that sweet spot kind of keeps going back further. So if you get a little wily on the rails, lean a little too far back, it's not totally gonna wash out on you. It does have enough rigidity for that. And when you do go to board slide this thing, unlike on the regular Gamma, this one doesn't really load up all that camber and spring you off if you're coming in a little too hot coming from the top ropes. Because it's a little bit stiffer, it doesn't really clank onto the rail, but it grips the rail better, where it doesn't load up all of that energy and want to buck you. It just feels a little bit more smooth on rails, and honestly, it feels great on the rails, which I didn't expect just because it is that more aggressive park board. Just like on the regular Gamma, this board holds a carve extremely well. Those short, quick carves, they do get edge to edge nice and fast, so when you're approaching a rail, not a big deal there. When you're on those medium and larger carves, speed is definitely gonna be your friend. The faster you go on it, the better it is, the smoother it feels. Like even when you're on those medium carves and there's that hidden push pile because of that flat light, it didn't get me off my line or anything like that. Even on the heel side, I was able to just go over that push pile and keep holding my edge. Now on those large carves, this thing is so much fun. You can just really trust the edge, dig in both ways on it, and just know that it's gonna hold you. And I would highly recommend Euro carving on this board. It is super fun. It does it all. Rider in mind. The rider for the Gamma APX is definitely that more advanced rider. They stick more to the park, those bigger features, but they do want to head out onto the mountain and just rip some smooth carves and really just push their own limits. If you're looking for another way to get involved in the community, head on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP. Sure, I could explain it here, but we have an awesome video over there getting into it really in depth. I really enjoyed this board. It was one of my favorite park boards of the season. Who knows if it'll make a top 5, because that's a collaborative effort, but it was still a great board. It handled all the carves really well, especially in that flat light condition where I couldn't see anything. This thing was pretty much just handling it for me. So really nice, effortless board in my opinion, where it's just fun. It handled everything I needed it to. Just overall, solid board. Comparable boards, the Capita Super DOA, the Yes Greats, and the Ride Benchwarmer. Recommended bindings, the Nidecker Kaon Plus, the Jones Mercury, and the Union Atlas. As always guys, I've been your host TC, and this has been my review for the Nidecker Gamma APX. If you're sold on this board but just don't know what bindings to get, why don't you go watch